was when it's all on, you have to close the window for humidity.
Oh, sure.
So as soon as it finishes, as soon as it starts, close it down.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me do it.
I don't want you to close the whole thing, just there we go.
So I'm just gonna minimize. Are you there yet, Monica?
No.
No. And it's
So
Dennis.
if you want to go back to the YouTube, where is it?
I closed it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It's right there. Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Laura, let me, it's the next one.
We were both on control freak.
Yeah, we're gonna see if you can hear.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear us too? Oh, there's Dennis. Oh, no, that's not.
That's Monica.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you, Monica. Yeah, I think.
Great.
Yeah.
Yay, testing.
There you go.
I thought you were gonna go off and watch a game.
Oh, no, I would love to watch that game, but the world is in chaos, Elizabeth. I have to try
As
to.
long as a game.
Oh,
It's not the last game,
escapism.
it's not the last,
No.
you know, so. Okay. I'm
Thank you.
Be safe.
I'll log on too, just to make sure, or I keep scrolling.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay.
Oh, maybe I'll check it out on YouTube too. All right, good night.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
So,
7:31.
right,
Christy is going to be joining us.
and again, I'm gonna pull up. Oh, Dennis, you're here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
And you can hear us, because that was our.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can call the meeting to order.
All right, calling the meeting to order. I'm Elizabeth Finner, and living in the Avenues, and I'm with Laura Myers.
Hi, I'm Laura Myers. I serve on the UNNC board and also am a member of the Environmental Committee. And Dennis, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Dennis Lusky. I'm a board member and co-chair of the Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness Committee. And tonight I've been asked to call in, I believe totally with respect to the recent Emergency Preparation Alliance meeting on extreme heat.
Right, so we're definitely talking about heat tonight, so you're going to give us a report?
Happily.
Question? Perfect. So I'm going to say Elizabeth is chairing. I'm doing the tech. We're also new to this, and Dennis, I don't know if you even have done one of these hybrid meetings. It's really hard to remember to look at the big screen where you are, because I'm tending to look at the computer where I am, but no one can see me on the computer. You can only see me on this hybrid Zoom system. And I'm going to turn it back to Elizabeth.
It's the camera moves for whoever's speaking, and that's very interesting. But we're still introducing ourselves. Dennis,
He did introduce.
you did introduce yourself, but where do you live? Harvard Heights?
Harvard Heights. I'm on Ardmore between Venice and Washington.
Wonderful, yeah. And I saw you at the Echo Park walk with the oil fields.
Absolutely. The Vista Hermosa scary walk.
Which, yes, exactly, which still bounces around my head. Dennis, do you have access to the agenda?
I'm not picking up the sound that well. You asked me if I had what?
You have access to the agenda.
Yes, I took a look at that. Yes.
Great, okay, so I'll just summarize it.
I'm going to share it.
General.
I'm going to put it on the screen.
We're reviewing the agenda now, and Laura's putting it on the screen. 2 is general public comments. That will be short, as there are a few of us here. Then number 3 is the CEMO, Climate Emergency Mobilization Office, and we're talking about heat, even though we haven't had much heat yet. Everywhere else in the country has heat and smoke, it seems. Number 4 is requiring cooling apparatus on all rental units. The motion or the mandate that the city council just passed, and the reverberations among residents, landlords, and others. Number 5 is an update on KYCC tree plantings. I think we're gonna X that because we weren't able to get in touch with them this week. And then 6, I think we can just say, I'm gonna say, instead of 5, the KYCC, we can say new business and et cetera. And then 6 will adjourn. We're gonna try to be quick. It's my son's 24th birthday and he's home alone. I'd like to go spend time with him. Is that agenda okay with everyone?
Fine with me.
Yes.
Great. All right, opening it up to comments. Anyone?
So I will do the bureaucratic thing of saying general public comments on anything that is not on this agenda. So, and obviously of interest to the committee. So we're an environmental committee. So if there's any public comments on any topic that's not on the agenda. I don't have one. Nope. Okay.
So, moving on, we have updates, and this is where you come in, Dennis, I believe. So, you want to take it away?
Yeah, so essentially, Dennis, what we did on this agenda is say, we're talking about heat, climate change and heat. And one of the things we wanted to look at, if anyone has thoughts on it, is essentially the effectiveness of having a climate emergency mobilization office. And I put SEMA apparently on this agenda instead of CMO. And then the woman who is the director, general manager of that office, now is also the city's chief heat officer. And I'm not sure, how does SEMO intersect the report, the meeting that you went to and you're reporting out from? Was SEMO there?
No, what we had was the commissioner reported attending a meeting at which Paul Kukurian spoke, discussing the SEMO and the, I could give you the report on that right now, probably the best.
Yeah, that'd be great, because
Okay.
that'll start discussion.
Len Schaefer is the commissioner for the Emergency Preparedness Alliance and conducts the monthly meetings. He set extreme heat as the topic. I will tell you that based upon the participation of the people there, they regarded this pretty much as a valley topic because they figure they could suffer more from more heat emergencies in the valley than we do down here. They provided the website, the climateforla.org/heat. They talked about the spike history when we get a period of extreme heat in the emergency room, how the libraries have been helpful in cooling. But Krikorian is the one that apparently really took it forward. He talked about the fact that there were public transit delays with extreme heat that they had to deal with. And then he ran through the resources that they felt were available. The cooling centers, that is available now. Alerts, they have to work about getting alerts out. They talked about the Cool LA, that is the LADWP resource about how to cool off. They talked about hydration stations, and interestingly, what they really, and they talked about cool streets. And I would tell you, it was the sense of this particular group that that was the most achievable thing, to nullify the heat absorption properties of the black, slurried and tarred streets by just painting them white. And they apparently thought this was pretty easily available. I must agree with them. That is a pretty straightforward approach. Obviously, it will cut down the absorption tremendous and diminish the heat island effect. That was their recommendation as the most achievable, the closest thing to look like low-hanging fruit. They did make a point of commenting that they were pleased that the report was that there was enough hydroelectric for our systems, that for the part that it provides for our systems, that they didn't think there would be any brownouts, no concerns about air conditioning this summer. And they did talk about the kind of things that you're always talking about, the loss of trees, that's a loss of cooling. Once again, though, they got back to the fact that the white coating, that was pretty much what they could do.
Is it just white paint?
Yes, and there was no discussion of what the particular product was, what the application was. I will assume that it's probably somewhat akin to the paint that they paint the stripes on the streets with, because that stuff lasts.
Yeah, I mean, I would wonder what the manufacturing process is that wouldn't itself create other aspects of climate change. I mean, that's a lot of paint. We
Yeah.
have a lot of miles of street.
Yeah.
So did they address that at all?
No, they didn't. They just regarded this as the most opportune thing. And as I say, this seemed to be more of a valley situation. And I
And
will
that's-
tell you that you just would have to pick out, you'd have to get your statistics together and find out where the most critical areas are with the heat.
Mhm. Well, but it's also what is the definition of critical? Is it critical where it's hottest? Or is it critical where people are most poor and thus
Yeah,
not
yeah,
able
Yeah.
to cool themselves?
To me, it's critical is going to be where greatest number of people are impacted, and it's likely to be poor because the area has been neglected with trees and other things, and also they may not quite have the same access to cooling centers and libraries and this sort of thing.
Wouldn't it be cost effective to run buses on excessive heat days to get people and take them to a cooling station?
Personally, I think that would be a fine idea because why not take maybe the DASH system, which is very much local bus system, and say, okay, we've got a climate emergency. Anybody that wants to get on a DASH, we'll drop them at a cooling center.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I feel like I looked up all the cooling centers. Well, I say all the cooling centers as if there's a lot, but at least in UNNC, we have two, and they basically are the two libraries, Jefferson Branch and the Washington Irving Library. And there was a little symbol on the map that would indicate that the Washington Irving Library also has water service. I don't know, did you talk to Marcy? Did she? So I don't know, because there's nothing on the Washington Irving website that indicates it's also a water center. But there isn't actually a standalone cooling center around here. So again, at the meeting, Dennis, did they indicate that there are such things as actual cooling centers? Or are they just using various city facilities to be?
This meeting was not seeking specifics to these solutions as much as it was bandying about these are the possibilities. And they pretty much, Len pretty much led the meeting because he was parroting with Paul Krikorian and explained these are the resources, these are what we can do. And so you probably would characterize this as here's the next step, we have to investigate these things.
Right, so.
It seems like such a good opportunity for community involvement. And
Right.
I'm not hearing that there has been town halls on this issue. I mean, after the first hot day, I think people, after the first hot day, really hot day has passed, if there's a town hall, people will flock to it to explain what the excessive heat did to them, to their lives.
Right.
I will tell
then
you that I can only report on what I saw with the EPA, and these are people who've been concerned and made things happen in the past and are trying to do something, but they're a little beat down with the lack of funding and support through the emergency management department, quite frankly. And so they're hopeful and they do what they can, but it's more likely ad hoc efforts, individual efforts may get more done. And they would run with it if we could put it in front of them.
Right. So implied in what you just said, they did not get an increase in budget for this next year?
I did not ask that specifically, but I don't think they did.
Right. Because I remember 2 years ago, I think we did a CIS requesting on your initiative, requesting an increase in their budget. I'm sure nobody paid attention. I've brought up the website for resources for the heat. So I'm not even sure I'm gonna do beat the heat resources. And Dennis, I don't know, are you on your phone or are you able to see this?
No, I've actually, my old laptop crashed, so I'm using this laptop, but the video is just so terrible, so.
Okay, so what it says is, this is interesting. During cooling centers, during extended periods of excessive heat, LA City will open dedicated cooling centers and post their locations and hours of operations here, meaning I guess their website, as well as on @ReadyLA social media platforms. And many of these cooling centers will be the LA City Recreation and Parks facilities. But again, what we saw on a different piece of the website was our libraries. What is, Dennis, if you know, @ReadyLA social media?
I don't know that.
Okay. All right.
Laura,
Yes.
may I just say, you had asked me to give a call in. I've been out of town all day. I got back about 6:30, and so I've got a few things to take care of here. I
Okay.
wanted to report so I can have anything to contribute to the balance of your agenda.
Do you have any recommendations about what we should do as a team, as a committee
Oh,
for this?
Well, to get word out, for example, I think, and I see Teresa has her hand up. Dennis, did you not, I think you had asked Greg and me, I think that's how you got invited to this meeting. Could we do a story on our website?
Yes,
But- So, can we do a story on the website? Can we collaborate on something to get word out about all of these initiatives?
we sure can. There was something in specific that I say we could just post up there. I'm trying to think what it was. Let me step away for a minute here.
Okay. And Teresa?
I just want to say that everything is streaming well to YouTube. I hear your sound, but I did put a comment in the chat and I do not see it in the chat box. So I just thought I would bring that to your attention.
Okay, I'm seeing two comments.
Okay, yes, because I sent one to everyone and then I sent when there was no response.
Right.
And also when I click on chat, normally you see one or you see two, but as long as you guys are seeing it, then that's fine.
Well, we're barely seeing it because every time I want to see it, then it kind of takes over the middle of the screen.
Wow.
Right. I mean, in other words, it's just a little bit different than when we were doing this on each of our own computers.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe that's
so-
something we can talk about,
Right.
try to figure out another strategy to, to amend. Okay, have a nice meeting,
Thank
ladies.
you so
and,
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you. Okay, good night.
Okay. So
All right, Dennis, are you still there?
he's walked away.
Yes, I'm still
You came
here.
back? Okay, and I hear that you kind of need to get going.
Well, so what we put on this agenda in part, sort of a one of the discussions would be how to effectively publicize information, especially about the cooling centers, and also for general preparedness for a heat emergency. How do we communicate that to our stakeholders? And are there other cooling resources available? So, we don't need to answer those questions tonight, but my question is, between the Emergency Preparedness Committee and the Environmental Committee, which together comprise, as we saw on our Earth Day, sustainability and resilience, can we offline develop a list of these resources that we can cleanly put up on our website and then do both a MailChimp and maybe Facebook, but with links to the story on the website? I mean, can we all, the two teams, collaborate on this?
I'm willing to do that, yes, and our committee's willing to do that. I looked at what my recommendation to Greg was, and that was simply to create, as you said, the news item on our site linking to the Climate for LA that we just were looking at, but identifying the resources there and giving just a tidbit, like a little thumbnail of what's available there, so people know what's there and how to get to it quickly.
Right. So I feel like after I did kind of explore the different website versions, and I feel like we're going to need to be a bit creative and come up with some, like if there's a coffee shop that has great air conditioning, I mean, whatever, but I think we need to be a little creative and make a list that's a little larger, because otherwise we're stuck with 2 libraries, maybe the Normandy Rec Center at Normandy and Venice, I would guess. Certainly not the South Seas House. It's not, not a place anyone can just come and hang out for 10 hours. We're hanging out, but they have kids classes and things like that. So anyway, so that's the idea would be create an article, but it's sort of a list of resources for the website, and then create different social media outputs that links back to it, so that we're not trying to write that whole article on Facebook.
Sure.
Would be my.
But if the city's serious about this, I actually don't think that the AC mandate for all, that's
the agenda.
I understand that. I just think that's a sort of a non-starter. That's going to take a long time to have that done. But we have schools that have AC. We have, and if it's on the weekend or if it's in the evening, if it doesn't get cooler. I mean, I think we really actually need to be a whole lot more creative than what I hear we're being.
Right.
And it's also hard to be creative, and it's hard to make this urgent when we're not hot yet.
Yeah.
What about last year? Were there some serious heat? And
there was 10 days of really serious heat last year.
I wasn't here, so who handled that? Who would know what worked and what didn't?
Dennis, go ahead.
Oh, the call seemed to be doing a survey, and I think with the board, with the representatives for the various areas, I think each area representative or pair of area representatives could bring to the next board meeting the resources in their area. And it's schools, it's churches, it's any sort of public building.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
To get people
And I would
back
be
to-
happy to work on the next step of getting something together, whether it's a list of the resources and then how we're going to publicize it. I am going to have to beg off this meeting.
Okay.
shortly,
That's okay.
That sounds great. That's actually very workable to get our next thing and to get a list of resources in the area. And that sounds like we just need to go to some churches and say, would you be willing to be open?
Right. Well, he's saying have the area reps go to the churches in their areas, right?
but yes,
We have 12 area reps or 10,
Yeah.
but we should have 12. We will have 12, but we don't yet. Okay. So Dennis, we understand that you're going to leave.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for hearing me here, and I'll start my own canvas of in my area.
Right.
Great.
I wish you a
Great.
successful meeting tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good night.
So so we're it for the moment. Unless
Yeah.
Christy or someone else. Well, Charlie will pop in.
Okay.
Um,
Maybe they thought it was 8 again.
No, I sent several emails. I did. Oh, I'm gonna stop the screen share. That's what's my problem here. So
Discussion with Bart regarding how effective CMO has been pulling together the city's various climate change initiatives.
and Christy has joined.
Christy!
Well, she's joining. Hi, Christy. Well, I would
Hi,
say.
Christy.
Hi, Christy. We've sort of, can you hear us? Oops, I'm looking the wrong way.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm getting used to, we're on a hybrid, so I'm supposed to look at you, but I keep looking at the computer. So anyway, and Elizabeth, if she says a word,
Hi.
what's gonna happen is.
Yeah, and the camera moves. Isn't that amazing?
Oh.
But if you were here, you could have cookies.
I wish I could. If I hadn't had to walk miles to get my car, I would They might have come over, actually.
Right, because we are going to walk back to Fourth Avenue.
Yeah, I'll bring you cookies.
We've been talking about the LA Climate Emergency Mobilization Office, but well,
Yeah.
essentially, we had a report from Dennis, who's our liaison to the city's emergency something committee.
Yeah,
So
I did read the notes about it.
right.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Well, see where we are at would be just to discuss, if we can, how effective is this CMO, Climate Emergency Mobilization Office? And I'm going to say not enough, because people don't know it exists.
Right.
And when we were looking up resources, it's really hard to find them. So what we decided was that we were going to do an effort with UNNC, maybe asking the area reps to identify places in addition to the 2 libraries. So that we have 2 libraries that are cooling centers when it's hot. But see if we can identify other resources and publish a list and then try to do social media around it. So Elizabeth, what's your thoughts on how effective is SEMA?
I wasn't here last summer when we had the 10 days of heat, so I don't know how they dealt with the 10 days of heat. And to be quite honest, I want equal measure of mitigation and adaptation, because keeping people cool is important, but also reducing CO2 so that we don't create an environment where we're just naturally going to get hotter and hotter. So I wish people were more engaged in that discussion and the participation in those things, because apparently IRA is allowing people to get essentially free or really free solar panels on their houses. So I'm amazed that I don't see trucks carrying solar panels for the next building all over the place. With all the flat buildings, flat roofs we have, why aren't we doing that? And
does that help heat?
So that's one side of it,
Mhm.
which is it reduces emissions, and emissions create ozone, and ozone creates heat. Dennis mentioned that at the meeting, I guess it was the CMO meeting, right?
No, it was the Neighborhood Council Alliance, Emergency Preparedness Alliance.
Okay.
And it's run by, actually it's run by one of the neighborhood, Bob.
Bonin? No.
No, I would say the neighborhood, the commission that oversees the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment is nicknamed Bach. I just don't remember what BONC stands for. But he's an actual mayoral appointed commissioner.
Okay.
And he runs this alliance.
And
he's working with Krikorian, who's the president of the city council.
Oh, he's president now.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I didn't follow that. But so apparently the valleys, and that was my lived experience, that when I lived in Northridge, we got wicked hot there. It was super hot. But one of the solutions was to paint the black asphalt white. And I'll tell you that living in Northridge, I had a hard time going outside because of the blinding whiteness of the sidewalks. My sunglasses didn't even particularly help. They were so bright. So I think there's the rule of unintended consequences here. So I want to find out more. The other thing is, our committee here is not designed to solve the problems of the valley. That's silly. They need to identify what their best solutions are. And so our solutions are, I think, to identify the best cooling stations that people can go to. I like that on so many levels, because it takes people into community with each other. It's so much easier to spread information and to share solutions when you get people together. So churches and schools and parks, setting up sprinkler systems, like temporary sprinkler systems in a park, a shady park.
Yeah.
I don't know, tents and fans and.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway,
But who do we talk to?
well, ourselves first.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great idea, some sort of, but I don't know who's gonna spray the water in a park, if the parks are not set up to do that.
You
Yeah.
could hand out those little fans that, kind of people.
Oh, the little fan
The
with
little
the,
hand
with
fans.
yeah, with the little
With a
spray bottle.
spritzer.
Sure. I don't know, it's a little-
How do they advertise the cooling centers? And Laura, do you know if they were?
They
full?
don't, well, they don't, that's the issue.
We talked about this because of Earth Day, and I sort of became convinced that what you need is flyers and people to hand out flyers, because I think if it's online, it's going to miss a lot of people who might come otherwise if it's only online. And old-fashioned flyers, people see it. I mean,
Well,
they
Yeah.
can't avoid it.
Right, and well, that's true, and again, and the issue, well, I think it has to be all of the above. 'Cause
Right, yes.
if UNNC board members identify some churches or even coffee houses, any places that are cool and would welcome you to come in, I don't think we could list all those on every flyer that goes out, to every corner. But I think that could be an article on the website. Then individual Facebook posts or Instagram, whatever people are using, Twitter, whatever. And then flyers for the more official city sites. So that, in other words, I have a feeling the Normandy Recreation Center might be a cooling place, or certainly a cool place. And that's on the corner, the edge of our, it's at Venice and Normandy across the street. But I think that's a good idea to hand out flyers and flyers that are targeted. So that, in other words, in Harvard Heights, if I'm right about the Normandy Rec Center, you'd hand out flyers about Harvard, the Normandy Rec.
Right, sure.
And in Arlington Heights, the Washington Irving Library, and in Jefferson Park, you let people know about the Jefferson branch. But the other truth is these are not that large. These facilities are not, what if hundreds of people need cooling? They're not equipped for that. So, I mean, I kind of feel that this is more of a problem. And Elizabeth, your idea that the schools should be enlisted is, important. But it's not something we can do.
And then two, there has to be some budgeting, right? Because the city needs to step up and pay for the extra AC. It needs to pay for any refreshments offered to people. And I think you have to offer them popsicles and cool drinks, and not just water bottles. But because I think when I get really hot, I need sugar. I need a sugary drink, a cool lemonade or something. But yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking too, I mean, I'd love to, we're not writing this down, but I'd love to really, really hammer out some of these issues with people. Like, and then
Yes.
one more thing is that I hear the ice cream truck every day, the ice cream truck. Why, yeah, right? Why can't we have something like the ice cream truck be, come for a free popsicle and offered by the city?
You're saying a city ice cream truck.
Of some kind, or the city empowers ice cream trucks, and then you can get information about
Yeah.
cooling stations
I
at the
like
ice cream.
Mhm.
That is
Great.
interesting. So,
Because I just wonder how many flyers are going to miss people, because it seems like we always miss people.
Sure, but that's true. The ice cream trucks all the time. There's one here right now on 4th Avenue.
Yeah.
But I had a, yeah, they stink. That's another problem, but anyway. I had a question about, who do we tell about these ideas?
Well, first of all, we're recording them. I mean, literally, we may not be writing them down, but we're being recorded. And then second of all, I think we did, just before you came, agree, Dennis agreed to work with this team to help us compile a list of these resources. And these are ideas, not just resources, but I see no problem compiling, going back and, listening to the tape and compiling. And, because we want to disseminate the information. So, but we should do it. I mean, I'll talk to Dennis offline because it was his idea to begin with. He had sent, a request to some of the other officers on the board, UNNC board, about building something into the website. So I think he's committed to this.
Tell me who he is again? What is his?
Dennis Lesky.
position?
He's the area rep for Harvard Heights, but he's also our representative to this citywide emergency
Oh, okay.
preparedness.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So his whole thing is emergency preparedness.
okay.
So of various sorts of emergency.
Mhm.
And we absolutely have to plan for this now. Because, when it's 100, none of us has any energy.
No,
So like,
we're just sitting in the air conditioning.
yeah, wherever we can find it, or we're just taking a bath every 5 minutes, or a shower every 5 minutes. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, and I think also we should publicize that for UNNC anyway, all hands on deck.
Mhm.
Everybody. That's the mobilization part. Is that everybody needs to, cover a 4-block area and really think about people.
Yeah, but I mean, the timing of handing out flyers would have to be when it's horribly hot. Hey, the flyer says it's horribly hot. This is where you can go. Because handing them out right now, they will get tossed.
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah.
on the-
Well, maybe later, not exactly when it's 100 degrees, but when it's likely to be, or the next week it's likely to be. I mean, I don't know who you get to do that. Can't we get kids to do that? Or I don't know.
I don't know.
Who does that?
I don't know. Well,
I mean, I would do neighborhood, but I'm not.
right. No, I mean, I think, no, this will have to be volunteers because just the funding, I mean, anything more than printing of flyers is really difficult to get funded as well. So, I mean, it'd be easy to go to our governing board meeting in early July and ask for funding to print X number of flyers.
Sure.
And they could be half flyers. But to get any funding for Walkman, we're one of those companies.
I
And
see.
there's no guarantee that they would deliver, and they're very expensive, and that's a check, and they're not gonna go till they receive the
Yeah,
check.
no.
It's a kind
No,
of.
it would have to be volunteer. Neighborhood, by neighborhood volunteers. That's okay.
Right, but Elizabeth just said refrigerator magnets.
Sure.
Well, you just said it.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what
said,
you-
I said, well, I thought the flyer, you could say on it, put
Oh.
this on your refrigerator.
Got it. No, so you didn't say refrigerator magnets, but
No, 'cause
but
I'm
you know
against
what? Refrigerator magnets with the UNNC, and your cooling centers, a link to a website. I do think, or a what's that scannable thing? The
A QR code.
QR code.
QR code.
I think a lot of people have the cell phones and they can use the QR code. I
I
mean, we
don't know
still
about older people. What about older people? I'm not sure about that.
Well,
Now,
I don't know.
Older people or babies and stuff are the ones who really need to get the things.
Well, but you just, we're losing your audio a little. But I just, when you say that, I realize we also have 1 or 2 senior centers.
Yeah.
And are they cooling centers? And I hope they are. I'm writing that down. Are the senior centers cooling center? And we should probably work with the council office on this too. Okay. Anything else on this?
I guess I just feel like we should go, I should go to the next governing board meeting and just say that this is an issue that, I mean, that multiple committees can work on together and that they need to, because when the heat hits us, we're going to feel terrible if people got left out and that people died. I think the metric, it's nice to think about a clear metric is that the next heat wave, no one in UNNC dies. And how do we make that happen?
Right.
I mean, that's, you know, the stuff we talk about is sort of low urgency, right? Generally speaking, it's quality of life, it's making incremental improvements and better, but this is dying, right? This is somebody who could, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's all.
okay. So I've taken a lot of notes. We have a lot of notes here. We have another agenda item.
Yeah. So glad you're here. Christy, so glad. It was just,
I'm glad to be here. I just
I'm gonna text Charlie
got
too.
very tired today, walking back and forth about my car. It was the catalytic converter.
You still have that issue?
No, I finally got a new one installed after 7 months.
Yeah, she's been driving the van around.
And
Okay.
then I had to get the cat shield installed today is what happened. So
Oh.
I was
Okay.
I was picking it up. That's why I was late.
Okay, well, Elizabeth announced at the beginning of the meeting that she wants to be out of here on time because it's her son's birthday. We're not out of here now, but on time would be, I don't know, 25 minutes from now.
Okay.
So the next, am I okay to do this?
Yeah, go ahead.
The next item on the agenda is a motion that went through city council. So the place this isn't city council is, the council has passed it,
Mhm.
asking for a report, so it's not really final. And I'm gonna cough again. Oh, excuse me. The is a motion that would require, I'm doing great here, that would require cooling, and in quotes, apparatus, they're calling it apparatus, cooling apparatus on all rental units. And essentially, because the extreme heat events are increasing in number and scope, and because heat emergencies can have a devastating medical impact, according to this motion, at this point in the climate emergency, the ability to cool one's home cannot be considered a luxury and must be instead treated as a necessity. So what they're directing different departments to report back on is possible changes to the municipal code that would require or could require landlords to install, again, cooling apparatus. And they don't know what that means exactly. Wall units, portable conditioning, installed, they don't know.
Yeah.
And also possible financial assistance for tenants towards the increased electric bills to utilize the air conditioner. So two different things.
Right.
And I thought this is something that UNNC, the board, could weigh in on. So I'm gonna, Chrissy, did you have an opportunity to go online?
I did. I read it, and it never occurred to me that part about the older buildings and might not have sub something, which
Right.
I took to mean they didn't have electrical, they didn't have, it
Well,
wasn't
where the landlord pays the electric.
just specific to each unit. Is that
Right.
right? You
Well,
couldn't-
what it means is that the landlord, the owner of the building pays for all the electric. I
Right.
don't know how common that is.
Yeah, I don't know, but I thought that was important to look into.
Right. Well,
If
my
there's-
first reaction was if you have an older building,
Yeah,
does it have enough electricity to even run the units?
yeah.
And who's paying the costs for landlords to upgrade their electric? And Elizabeth's point and other people's point was, well, does the city have enough electric capacity if every building is running air conditioning?
Wow, yeah.
And then you had other thoughts. What were they?
That
That it's
the
not so
rolling
good.
blackouts, and that it's not good because I'm not sure what our percentage is on that being from renewable energy.
Right.
So how much natural gas are we burning in order to power the electricity for all those and it's a blunt instrument. For instance, it seems to me that some buildings could be kept cooler if they were better insulated. So, and some buildings could be kept cooler with a whole house fan.
Mm.
And
Well-
so, you know, do you give the landlords flexibility in solving the problem? Can you just simply say that an apartment needs to be able to be cooled, to be under, 90 or 85 without extreme measures from the tenant?
Well, I feel, I have a stronger feeling that this is one more thing that they're putting on the back of small landlords
Yeah.
without any consideration of the cost at a time when that they've already added requirements that make it much more difficult to force a tenant to even pay their basic rent and much less increase the rent to, I wouldn't necessarily want to increase the rent, but for a landlord to have to spend the money with quite possibly not get a return on it, because they can't charge it back.
Sure.
To upgrade the electric just so that these air conditioners can run in whatever, 8 apartments or 10 apartments.
Efficiently. But maybe there could be some kind of a credit, Laura. I mean, either from federal government in terms of a tax credit or, to upgrade, how the DWP gave some kind of rebates, credits for upgrading to better insulation or certain kinds of appliances. Maybe there could be some kind of credit for that.
Well,
That would help, but I think
Right.
a tax credit from the federal government.
Well, yes, that would be, the city would need to negotiate that too. I mean, LADWP probably would have the money to do it, but then it becomes a different question. Should ratepayers paying whatever rate they're paying for their electric bills be subsidizing landlords? I mean, let's flip it the other way, so that they can improve their buildings. And that doesn't seem good either. I mean, the issue is it's extremely expensive we have, the person I work with has now a couple of competing bids. They're not very competitive, but a couple of competing bids to upgrade all the electric on one of the buildings he owns, from an older system to 100 amps. So 100 is not 200, just 100 amps. And it's essentially, without including repairs to like plaster and everything, and not rewiring the units, just upgrading the electric and bringing the upgraded electric to a sub panel in each unit, about $8,000 per unit. And that's not including adding circuits, upgrading any of the interior wiring. So that's cost prohibitive for some or many. It's hard to know. So, and I don't know if this requirement could be imposed without the owners of buildings upgrading their electric to a minimum of 100. And it's sort of the same concern I have with but it's a longer period of time. So the city has also already voted that by the year 2035, that all new buildings would have to be 100% electric, or maybe they already have to be 100% electric in existing buildings. We'll need to start converting to 100% electric by the year 2035. So electric stoves, et cetera, electric washers and dryers.
As opposed to gas, you're saying.
As opposed to gas. So that's going to require electrical rewiring, upgrades to electrical systems. But that's a longer period of time perhaps than what this motion's about. So, I mean, in other words, it's not just the cost, $250, guessing, of buying one window unit for every apartment. You know, or $500 for one portable air conditioner for every apartment. It's the, can it operate? And then the other concern being, can the tenant afford to operate it? Let's see, the amendment, I'm not gonna post it, but the amendment from John Lee and Bob Blumenfeld is to find programs, identify potential programs to assist low-income and middle-income tenants with subsidies to offset the increased energy consumption due to having electric. So the question is, for us, do we want to recommend to the governing board that it do a community impact statement, CIS, on this topic? And then if our answer is yes, what are the bullet points? Because I would have to, we would have to write it, but we don't have to write it tonight. Write a community impact statement. So it is only the three of us, but that's okay because it's just a recommendation. Do we want to do a community impact statement? And if yes, and we're recommending it, what are we identifying as the concerns? I think one is just the overall, how much more electricity would LA have to generate, right, in order to actually do it? Right. I mean, isn't that kind of one of your concerns?
So the community impact statement is a response, right, to this.
Well, it's a advice.
Advice. Okay.
At this point, they're asking for a report.
Okay.
So what we would essentially
Our
be
reaction
doing,
or response? Our
we
impression.
would be recommending that the resulting reports include a look-see at these other elements that don't seem to yet be considered.
Okay.
Right? So I don't know, you call it a response? Not exactly. It's a,
Well,
we applaud the idea of keeping tenants healthy in heat emergencies, right?
it's not our responsibility to keep people. We could see.
Well,
we could
the
see.
city's already saying
I
it
don't want to
is.
applaud, right? I want to say we acknowledge that the city would like to use resources to keep its residents safe, healthy in the event of a health risk inducing heat emergency. However, the direct mandate of buying heat apparatus is I want to just call it a blunt instrument.
That's not gonna pass.
Could be onerous for landlords and maybe not effective because of the electrical, existing electrical upgrades or upgrades to existing electrical systems that would have to be made. And
But two, I think what I would want to say in this thing is that I'd say it's easier to tell the landlords what we consider safe living spaces for tenants, that an apartment be able to be cooled below 80 without costing too much. So the landlord would have the ability to say, okay, I'm going to put on, a cooling roof. I'm going to put a,
yeah.
So we just want them to come up to a standard, which is the house doesn't get to be 100 degrees at.
That's interesting. Yeah. So they could put insulation and everybody had to put those, when we did the roof here last, we had to put on the cool roof, reflective kind of roof. That's interesting.
And then two, you can plant trees on the south side, and in maybe not the first year, but you'll get credit for something so that we know that in 3 years or 5 years,
Yeah.
you'll have significant shade.
Well, that's interesting. I like that.
Okay.
Because they don't feel like they're forced to do something. They're just, they're,
Right. Sure. The landlords have to provide heat though, right?
Yes. You have to have even heat at a certain temperature at a certain height. And can you get away without providing that? Yes. And that could just be a single wall heater. Again, it is not in the code that anyone has to provide, any existing buildings have to provide central heat. Just have a warmth in a building. New buildings, I mean, we're not really talking about new construction.
right.
Clearly, new construction, they can require whatever they want, and
Right.
it's just new construction. But they're not really talking about that. They're talking about existing older buildings.
Right, that's the problem.
Right, and they're definitely talking about existing older buildings. They've mentioned that in the report several times.
That's the challenge. Yeah.
And then, but Elizabeth, aren't we worried about, I mean, I've seen letters I've seen other people's comments in the file. And what other people are addressing is the impact on our citywide electrical infrastructure.
Yeah.
So I think we should bring that up too.
Because I've noticed that LA, when other places are having brownouts and that kind of thing, LA DWP, I don't think that we do.
Good, yeah.
So
I
far.
So far, right, but.
But we've had electrical failures.
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, your neighborhood, the Avenues goes out all the time now.
Yeah.
Where you've got 3-4 hours of no electric. And what's that about? I mean, and that doesn't happen in the spring or fall. That tends to happen in the summer or the dead of winter.
Yeah.
Rain and wind, and in the summer on a hot day, which is horrible.
Yeah.
So were there any other, I mean, these are just bullet points. We still have to write something, but we don't have to write it here in the room.
Right, so we're committed to writing a CIS.
To writing one and asking this governing board to adopt it.
Right.
So do we want to vote? Do we need a motion?
Can
Yeah.
I move that we write a CIS on this issue and put it in front of the governing board for approval.
Second.
60 seconds.
Right.
And our votes are
I
unanimous. Okay. I did text Charlie, but I guess she's busy.
Right. Okay. All right.
Thanks. And it's page 27, so it's perfect.
Did you want to? So very quickly. Lost the agenda.
I'm looking to we don't have an update on the KYCC tree plantings.
Well, we have a short update from me, not from KYCC. Some trees, not 25 trees, not necessarily all the places we had recommended, but there have been some trees planted on Washington Boulevard. We're assuming it's KYCC that we funded, but we don't know that for sure because we have nothing from them and I wasn't able to reach them this week. So that's tabled till another month goes by. And I also, we don't have a new business, but sort of relative to this, I attended a meeting of the Angeles Vista neighborhood. And there were several, along with the police for the normal community safety report, several Council District 10 deputies were there. I did ask Danielle, one of our deputies, what about the maintenance of all those other trees on Washington? Because the weeds are 4 feet high in all the tree wells, and more trees are dead. And so I'm gonna follow up on that because UNNC cannot possibly pay for ongoing maintenance of 50 other trees. And we certainly can't pay to remove an increasing number of dead trees. And I don't know why the city itself is not taking care of, it's a major corridor and not taking care of these trees. So I'm gonna follow up on that.
Yeah.
And you wanted a new business item,
the
community.
Yeah, so I look for those opportunities to do something good for the neighborhood while meeting up with people. And so apparently we're gonna let some of the dust settle on elections and new officers and stuff, but in August, I'm looking to put together a group of people that can go around and maintain those tree wells. And just have little 2 hour
So you
Saturday
say
morning.
like Tom Sawyer days.
Yeah, Tom Sawyer did.
Well,
I think people would like to do that.
Good.
Why
Okay.
not?
Yeah,
Not.
so that's something I'm motivated to do.
I mean, I know that Mid-City Neighborhood Council did for a while have sort of monthly meetups on Washington Boulevard, but west of us.
Right.
And so okay, well maybe.
And on that note, I'm leaving tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. I'm getting on a flight to DC. So and then today's Theo's birthday. So if you text him, you can say happy birthday. He's had a good birthday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then so until next month.
So you're saying we're adjourned?
So let's be adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any comments?
Bye.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, Christy.
Good night. Bye.
Night,
Bye.
all.
Good night.